Those are details. I need excitement. And now I'm here. I
have been craving a
I know when
lettuce and tomato
I've been with students, I always
and
tell them
bacon
that.
sandwich.
And I'm going to call them.
Years. For some reason, I've been thinking about.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the workshop meeting this February 3rd in the city of Delray Beach. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Commissioner Markert,
Alexis, I'm here.
Commissioner Casal,
Here.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns,
Here.
Mayor Carney.
Here. We have a quorum. Great. This is, I guess, a follow-up to the workshop that we had back in December 5th. What was it? December
8th.
December 8th, yeah.
Excuse me, December 1st.
December 1st, right, the Economic Development Strategy, which I've given, by the way, a copy to all of my colleagues up here so that they have a copy of what was presented before, so that we can make reference to it and you can make reference to it, and I have some questions related to it. So there we are.
All right. Good afternoon. Jeff Horace, Assistant City Manager. Previously, the Commission had a discussion about a more aggressive economic development program. You specifically kind of cited two areas of interest. One, of course, was financial services, the other being some tech, and of course, in many places, those two might be. We've taken a look at what we have and the resources available to us. We reached out particularly to one of our key partners in this effort, which would be the Chamber of Commerce, and Stephanie Immelman was very gracious in meeting with myself and our Economic Development Manager, Rob Evans. We talked about how we could collaborate to reach some of our existing firms in those areas, particularly in the tech world. We do have some firms in town that are involved. And of course, we'll reach out to them. We have not yet done so, but we will reach out to them and talk about, if you were looking to come here, what exactly could we do as the city to assist you? So we'll get a little bit more deeper. You know, one of the things many of us rush to is incentives. Incentives really don't make the deal. Incentives may help close the deal, but it's really the ease in getting through the system, getting up and running, having the right space, having little things. So we really want to focus with a small focus group of folks already here saying, what could we do to bring someone like you here? So we are working on that, knowing that no matter what you choose, whatever direction you want, that's a good avenue for us to go and a positive one. Certainly also along this line would tell you our best bet for long term is more on the tech side than the wealth side, just because of the growth potential. I'm not saying we shouldn't go after wealth. I'm just saying I think we have a little bit more growth potential with tech. It will grow over time. We'll see some of those businesses get larger and bring more and more people in, whereas some of the firms we talked about, more of the smaller kind of wealth-related firms, you're talking maybe 10, 15 people, they're probably not going to get too much larger than that. Again, not to exclude them, but certainly to understand that we have some limitations with them. We checked into our economic development fund. We had informed the commission that we have $500,000 in the economic development fund. We have determined we can use that for certain things. If we want to do a marketing effort, which you had indicated you'd like to do, we can pay for that from that economic development fund. So we wouldn't have to move money around or adjust the budget in any way. That money exists there, and we could use that. We are prepared. The firm that assisted us in gathering the demographics we presented that last time certainly have experience in marketing with some of our local cities in South Florida. They could certainly assist us in that realm as well. We do have, I have up on the screen, we did do a little review of some of the incentives granted by, in the economic development world, by some of our neighboring cities. Now, what I warn you about this is there are plenty of places, us included, that have incentives on the books. What we've yet to actually get from some of our neighbors is, what are you using? Is it working? And how much are you granting? But we do know what they have on the books. And I'll kind of give you a quickie on that real quick. We have our own resolution that has some of our incentive programs there, some of the things we can do. depending on exactly which direction we want to go, we'll have some recommendations on how to make those more appropriate. We want to talk to some of those potential business partners out there already and find out what they would recommend are the best things for them. I would assume what we're going to find is probably the best thing we can do is really some of that concierge permitting and site assistance, just so permits move through the system quickly and a potential economic development target can get up and running quickly. Not to say, I make it a point to say in this one, not to say our development services group is moving things slowly. They are doing everything appropriately, but I do think we can move things a little quicker and get things going if we had an individual assigned to a permit to walk it through the system. Just a little look at what some of our neighbors are giving: job creation incentives, high wage incentives, expedited permitting. Boca Raton is very focused on headquarters attraction. They have the kind of space that's really good for making that a definitive strategy, just going after corporate headquarters. We would have a little bit more time with that because of the space we have. You all recognize that when you talked about going after firms that are a little smaller with some potential to grow. Customized deal structuring is certainly something I would recommend that we do. Each business is going to be different that we're trying to attract here. It may be something as simple as, we're going to maybe do some rental assistance, or we'll help acquire some, give a rebate on acquiring some equipment, whatever the case may be. It's been in my practice, in my experience, to try to customize. One size does not fit all. As much as we might think it does, it doesn't. It's not just about cash. As a matter of fact, I would tell you one of the last things we would be looking at is cash incentives, because they don't really move the needle. It's more about the space, the time. Often it's really about where the CEO wants to live, and whether he or she has children and where they want to go to school, particularly as we're talking smaller firms. Was one more slide. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's just, I'm sorry, I skipped that one. Just talking a little bit about, if I can get through it. If you go to the, thank you. There, that middle slide. Why is it advancing when I'm trying to make it go backwards? There. Just a little bit. Boynton Beach is really focusing on their CRA and using their CRA to attract. I have not found yet, and our economic development manager has not found where they're doing more outside. Although I know that they are looking. They've recently hired some economic development folks to move that forward. West Palm deploys a scalable job growth incentives, and Boca, as I mentioned, is really targeting headquarters, and those headquarters, of course, also because they come with high wage and employees along with those headquarters. Again, if there's more that you want to look at other than targeting those two groups I first mentioned, please let me know. We will, of course, always keep our eyes open for anything that we feel is beneficial to the city, but we certainly would look at targeting those two groups and seeing what we can find locally, what relationships our companies that are here locally have elsewhere. Do they have people they work with who are in Utah and have said, hey, Florida's nice, we should move there? Please tell us, we'll go get them. I can tell you one of the strategies we used. I worked for a Chamber of Commerce many years ago. We did economic development under a contract with the city. And one of the things we did as a chamber is we created a networking program where we went and visited with the CEOs of existing companies to explore the networks they had and find out, do you have friends in other businesses that would be interested in coming here that we should reach out to as a group? If you go to a company with people they're familiar with, that's very useful. So we could certainly do some of that. I mentioned the Chamber's a great partner in this. Rob and I met with Stephanie a bit ago, and she's all on board for helping out with this. We can use some of the Chamber members as a sounding board on these sort of things and really get that business insight from those people who do things regularly that we don't. So that's basically where we're sitting right now. Again, we have that economic development fund that we can use as our starter money. We don't have to ask for anything more. We don't have to change any budgets. We can work with those dollars. So I'm sorry, what'd you say? You wanted to go after Chick-fil-A's headquarters? What?
It's working.
I would love that.
That would be nice.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, all this was prompted by, because we saw our friendly mayor to the south advertising in every single airways he could get about the wonders of Boca Raton. And when I spoke to my people that are in the corporate relocation business, you know, some of them have heard of Delray, but we're really not on the radar. You know, they all think of Boca or West Palm. And I will say that also the Economic Council in Palm Beach County I mean, we're there, but we're not, they talk about Boca first. Well, largely because they have more offices, largely because there's, you know, a lot of other stuff. But, you know, they still feel that there's an opportunity for Delray. And we're sitting on some money. I just want people to know who we are. All we need is one hit, and we will have paid for, you know, the effort to get ourselves at least in the mix, and we're not in the mix now. So, but that's just, you know, I have a lot of different questions from the report that was done, which you did last time. You know, one of the things is when you looked at your statistics, you used all Broward County statistics, and I'm saying I didn't understand why the Broward County statistics were. Maybe that's all you could get. It was on which one was it? I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh, the updated program focus and prioritization relied on Broward County data. That's on page 10 of what I gave everybody. So what are we getting? What are we getting in Palm Beach County data that we can start relying on?
So what I would tell you is I can't say for certain I didn't put those numbers together, but it's probably because the MSA is South Florida, the statistical area they look at. So it's probably centered on Broward. I'm speculating here.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious because I mean I didn't see Palm Beach named, and it was all Broward.
That's where we usually are. Is that the statistical area they use is South Florida? It's the 3 counties.
Does our Economic Development Board do anything like that? Where they create some of their own statistics that we can start, you know, looking at?
I'm sure they have things that we can present you and share.
Okay, Commissioner Casal.
Well, the last time we had, I believe it was Miss Smallridge here talking about this, she said we should understand what we want before we go and make the next steps. We haven't gotten to that point. What's appropriate for our city? We're at build out. We have a small amount of land, some on North Federal. We have Congress. We have little clusters in between. But who are we targeting with advertisement if we don't even know what we're looking for? Where we should be trying to ascertain that type of information, what's appropriate for our city, and what we're looking for before we go out and start spending money on ads.
And Commissioner, the consensus of the commission at that time was those 2 areas, tech and wealth.
Wealth as in wealth management firms, etc.
Correct. So we certainly, you know, we have some space for those. We don't really have the space to put a corporate headquarters with 400
Understood,
people.
right.
But we certainly have the spaces to bring in a firm of 15 to 20 people.
So where would we be advertising? I mean, are you here looking for us to agree to give you advertising funding? What is the?
No,
you gave us the chart, but we don't know. You're telling us these are the things other cities have, but you say there's no information to prove if they're successful or not. So you're looking at a chart that says your neighboring community does this, that, and the other, but you can't say is it effective or is it ineffective. So therefore, that information doesn't really help us. What they're doing doesn't matter unless we know if it works, right?
We shared with you just so you have an idea of what our neighborhood settings are doing. Success always ends up being long-term with some of these. I was involved in some things back in 30 years ago where the company showed up, got some incentives, and left 2 years later. So it's a little longer road. And do they expand? Do they contract?
And I do think we do provide incentives in different instances. So what are you asking for today here? What are you trying to get to?
I'm looking for the commission to define as best as possible what you would like to see us go after, if it is what we've talked about.
But I think you just said that was defined at the last meeting.
No, I said you talked about it, and we looked into it, and we think it's feasible. We didn't do any in-depth statistical analysis of it, but we believe we have the space. We believe that we can attract those types of people here. We believe that some, as I mentioned, particularly tech, could grow here.
We made a commitment during the December 1st meeting to come back circa the February 3rd to outline for the City Commission what we think is possible. That was a general discussion offered during the December 1st engagement. Here we are today. We talked about the initial engagement involving the firm GRIP that is in position to start helping us in this regard. I offered a follow-up relative to the Economic Development Fund in writing so that we can identify ways in which we can get started. So this is our obligation to come back to the Commission with some specifics to the extent that we possibly can, as well as hear from the Commission other prospective thoughts you may have to contribute to the process.
What is the firm offering to do for us specifically? Is that document affixed to the agenda?
No. What's being contemplated is a professional services agreement, something that the city manager's authority would execute in that regard. So for that reason, we did not proceed as of yet because our interest was to have this discussion at this time so that we can come back and also invite the firm representative in terms of what the specific steps will be before getting to that place.
What's the cost of the engagement?
I'm looking at $64,000.
To provide us what? I'm trying to get to what are we buying? What are we paying for? What are we purchasing? What's the $64,000 going to be used for?
It's marketing activities to reach out to those groups that we're talking about that we'd like to attract.
Okay. I think maybe we need more information, specifically the group, how you selected this group versus another group. Are we going for an RFP? There's a lot of questions unanswered here.
There's a lot of stuff we need to do. Respectfully, we need to do first. You know, we look at this City of Delray comprehensive analysis, cluster analysis, et cetera. That was 2019. We haven't had anyone go back to refocus on, okay, what land is available and what can we do with it? We haven't had that done. I spoke to two companies. One was EY, which is an Ernst & Young thing. Even though their accounting side is gone, they still have this side, which all they do is they're consultants for people establishing family offices. And I also had some words with the guy from Templeton, same group. Now, but he was telling me there's like 4 or 5 companies out there that this is what they do. I don't know that we've talked to any of them. So, but you know, we need the key. What he said for these people is that they make relatively quick decisions. Number one, and the information you have to give them has to be up to date. So, when we don't have up to date information, it's very hard for these people to make a decision. That's what I'm saying. So, I you know, which is why I'm saying there's other things we kind of got to do before we know what we're going to go out and strategize, because we can't even tell people what land is available now, because this is, as I said, 2019. We haven't updated it. So while we know we're not going to attract the 200, 300, 400 person, corporate headquarters, there's a lot of 40, 50, 60, person offices which we could attract. I mean, us getting Vertical Bridge I thought was an amazing thing, but they shouldn't be unique. They came, they saw, they had a good job of collaboration with the various city groups to get them to come, and they did a great job. Hats off to them, hats off, the DDA, the CRA, the Chamber of Commerce, they did a great job. But we should have more of that. So that's what I'm saying. Our information is not current enough that I can show them what we can do.
I thought we had asked for that at the last meeting. We talked
thought
about
we
reaching
talked
out to
part of
people
what I thought
like
you were gonna come
Christina
back with was some
Morrison and
updates.
other people, find out what our inventory was. That was what I thought we left off with. Frankly, this presentation is very lacking in information.
So one of the things we did do is we're looking at how to best know what's out there. And the best avenue for us is there's a subscription service out there that everybody uses to determine where are the commercial spaces, where is the vacant land. We can subscribe to that. It comes with a cost. I think it's about $480 a month, but it is what all the realtors use to determine where the spaces are. It's been around for a long time. So it is something we could subscribe to. Will show us all of the available space in our city, all the particulars of that space that the owners have been willing to put out there. and contact information for all of those folks, which is part of the things that's really lacking with us is how do we contact and find out the particulars of any space or land that's available without driving around and looking at every sign that may or may not be
Well,
there.
we would
Identifying
expect
property is the
staff to
one small component.
drive around
If
and
you,
look
this
at
report identifies property and then says, okay, this is what you could do with this piece. These are the kinds of people that would be interested in a piece this size.
Right, because there's so many factors.
That is where I would like to see the next focus go, to at least update all of our. Again, I can
I
tell
may,
you, I
Mayor,
can show
I
you
do
properties in
think-
West Atlantic and East Congress. I can show you, but I don't have anybody. I can't go to somebody and say, "This is what we have. This is what you could put here. This is what this is." That's what we're lacking.
Could I make a suggestion? For now, right, if we're doing this step by step, why not have him get the $480 subscription for 1 month and get us a list of the properties? If it's only a small amount of properties, then going and investing in a firm, paying $65,000 and doing all this is unnecessary. If we find there's an abundance of properties available, Mayor, then I do agree with you. We need to go to the next step, which is determining what are the uses and how to get people in here. But what if we end up having hardly any property available, and this is all a conversation for naught?
Yep.
Gotta find out.
Commissioner
Right.
Burns.
Yes. Okay. So I appreciate this report here, but to me, it's just a lot of pages of information, and I'm a teacher, so I'm used to lesson plans, daily lesson plans, weekly plans, student plans, teacher plans, and I think that we need a strategy, some sort of strategy written so that it outlines what we're doing. This, you cover some data points and you cover some information about other communities. I'd like the strategy that I heard you mention that you used before in some other city. That's a starting point. So I would like to see us develop a strategy, identify what the mayor and Commissioner Casella said, the priority industry, I think we said, for the wealth firms, but the subscription makes sense so that we can identify where it is. But I would like to see this stuff like written in some order so that we understand when I pick up a document, I don't have to turn 100 pages to try to figure out what I'm looking at. Something with objectives on it. I see some of them touched on here, but not necessarily in order. Some include in implementation steps. Who's responsible for it? You're mentioning the chamber. Maybe DDA is involved in something, but something that outlines a process, what your goals are, and so that we'll know what we're doing. It's just like a plan. I'll just leave it at that, a plan. But I do think the subscription is going to be beneficial because it's going to tell us what we have, and then we can go from there. Once you identify the sectors that align with our land use, what we have to work with, then we can move forward with steps on how we get to where we're trying to go. Like right now, it's like just a lot of information here.
I printed those up for you. It was from the last.
And then, two, I agree with my colleagues. I just thought we were so much farther than this. It seems like we just keep having the meetings and the workshops. We need a solid plan so that we can implement it and move from there. That's measurable so that we see what we're doing. Business recruitment, I don't know. I know DDA has a lot of that information. Chamber has some of that information. Job creation, we need to have a plan so that we know where we're going. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Marker.
Yeah, I got a few things. I don't disagree that we should get that subscription. I think that's base information that we should have, and it's $400 or $500. It sounds right to me. I do think, just knowing what I know about Delray, we have a very finite real estate portfolio that's available to us. We know that. We've talked about that. So by definition, that's going to help focus us in on industries that we should be thinking about. And I think the ones we've talked about, I think technology makes sense. wealth management, you know, that can make sense. And we talked in a previous meeting about really thinking about maybe AI as a category, which is a new one. So I think we have to define the industries that are going to fit the real estate portfolio that we have available in our city, which isn't a lot. I think we should do a deep dive on what those competitive cities are offering. I mean, I saw the ticks in the boxes and that, but I'd want to see a really thorough competitive analysis about, you know, what's Boynton doing and also an analysis of what are our advantages vis-a-vis Boynton or Boca or whoever they are. One question I would have is, have we started thinking about how we're going to structure our team? Are we going to have a team? Because from what I've read about what other competitive cities are doing in Florida, they're establishing business development teams. I don't know if we've thought about that. It may be something down the road. But
We would have to get to that place eventually. So I do have some thoughts in terms of next steps given the feedback that's been offered. That includes the eventual connection with a business development team and what that might look like.
West Palm has a development team. I think I'm
Right.
fairly certain Boca has a
they 100%.
They do.
team.
So we'll be coming back with specific recommendations how to get there. And I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Market.
you're good.
But we have like these people from Vertical Bridge. You could put them on this team. They know how to do. They would have a Rolodex of people. No, I don't know when you use that expression anymore. But if you do use that expression, they would have groups of people that they could reach out to.
Of course.
Try to just hey, take a look at this.
Of course.
But I do think it's to win in this game, it's going to take a dedicated team. I think if we make this 10% of somebody's job, we're not going to get the results that we want because we're up against cities that are dedicating employees to this. We'll lose. And then the other thing that I didn't hear mentioned that is always a place where we can go hunting are conferences and conventions. There's a lot of those. I go to a lot of them still, and there's a lot of cities poking around at the booths of companies that are just getting started at those conventions. You know, meeting the CEO and finding out where they're currently based, and are they private equity financed? Are they thinking of moving? Those conventions are pretty good, but again, that takes time. I mean,
Right.
You got to fly to Orlando, and you got to be there for 3 days, and you got to knock on all the booths, but that's the effort I think it's going to take to win. I think anything less than that, we're going to be not very happy with our results.
Once we have a definitive targets, then we can kind of hone in on where we would go. I mean, quite frankly, the first thing that pops in my mind isn't actually a conference as much as it's somebody should be out at the polo grounds. It's where a lot of those folks hang out during season. So if we have people involved and engaged there, as well as some other, the Delray Open itself is an opportunity to find some of those folks. Quite frankly, I know it's been a little difficult getting there, but the Concourse Car Show is bringing in some people with some serious money. So we could be using that through their organizers to meet some of the people once we know who we're targeting. We're still a little up in the air on the firmness of that. So I couldn't tell you exactly where to go to find them because I don't know exactly.
But there
who we're
are
looking
trade
for.
shows out there. I mentioned this one of my
Absolutely.
meetings a long time ago, where they just deal in corporate relocations. Delray's never had a seat at that table. We could we have things we can offer because a lot of people would like what we have to offer. It's a small town, it's a lot less hustle and bustle. The city can give them to show them how we can move things along for them. If we should ever want to do that, but they have a team. That's what they do, and.
The most important thing for us to get there is to know exactly what it is we're looking for.
So,
Then we can
ladies and
assemble.
gentlemen, if I may offer guidance for our path forward, I'd like to have us engage again in April. We're proceeding with the subscription service that was just talked about. We'll come back with a structure relative to a business development team, what that looks like once we have an opportunity to ascertain specifically what's available in terms of land, property resources, etc. We'll be able to get to that place. But again, this also may necessitate thoughts relative to human resources, external support to help us cultivate this environment, and we'll consider ways to facilitate that selection. So I'm looking at a workshop meeting, the second meeting in April, I think, because of course we'll use February and March to inventory accordingly. And we'll come back for a presentation to City Commission in April with some more specifics with regards to business development team, if you will, as well as a more structured approach per the dialogue being offered this evening.
I would like to ask you, back in 2024, we had approximately $3.5 million, $3.33 million in these legacy UDAG dollars. Have they been spent? I mean, if so, what have they been spent on? Because UDAG is also something that does it for what we're talking about.
Might be a question best pointed at Jerry for an answer, because it's her department that handles that. However, what I would tell you is I know there's not a whole lot left. And
Okay, well, I'm just curious how it was. I know we
has
had
been-
3.4 when I was running for office. I remember what the number was, but I don't know what they've done with it since.
It's been focused at smaller businesses that provide jobs for mostly for those who are lower income.
I'm not saying it hasn't been spent
I'm
wisely. I'm
just
just
saying that's
curious,
what-
how was it spent?
What it was really done.
That's what I'm kind of looking for.
And I couldn't tell you, I was not involved in the expenditure of those funds. Most of them, I think, were expended before I even got here, quite frankly.
Well,
So
2024,
we
it
can
was-
certainly get you a little bit more detailed information
yeah,
on
we
what
had
we've
some
done
funds
with
there,
those
as I
funds.
said, and I was just curious
Yeah.
because that's part of our business development.
I'll make sure we put something together that tells you how much is left with some idea of what we spent it on to date.
Okay.
Mr. Moore, does what you just mentioned involve some sort of strategy based on the information that you gather and you find that we can move forward? with?
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking to bring that back to y'all in April.
Okay. And so we don't have a team yet.
That would be part of the consideration
Is Mr. Evans
process
on
as
this
well.
team?
He's with staff, and so we'll make him part of the process.
Okay.
He's the only one in that department. He's
I
like,
know.
he
Right,
is the
it's one-man
process.
band.
Ladies and gentlemen, for a number of years, there's only been one individual housed in the Economic Development Division. So he's Economic Development Manager. That was once one single position called Director, which again goes back to the point of us coming back with what a structure would look like so that we can showcase ourselves in terms of what's necessary. So that would be part of the presentation in April so that we can offer specifics in terms of what that looked like, in addition to any external support services that may be required to get to the place that's expected, and look forward to some productive outcomes in that regard. So what I would ask for at this juncture is consensus to be able to proceed along these lines. And I would also ask the commission to not think of the fact that we had a discussion back in December 2 months ago, followed by this additional dialogue 2 months later, as being counterproductive. It's not, it's quite helpful in many regards, because of course there's a number of steps and pieces we must put together. Thus the merit for coming back in the next couple of months in April with a more definitive, specific structure in terms of what we get to, and more information will become available as a result of the subscription service regarding specifics relative to land and property resources.
You know, look, Delray is a victim of our own success. We've done great with restaurants and other things that there are places which we haven't really focused on, and it's getting more and more competitive. And those are the kinds of places we're going to need, you know, working in this town, and, you know, sending their kids to the schools, and, you know.
And given what we just talked about, I think that will become more clear.
Mayor, if
so
I
do-
may, you know, one of the other things that, from my seat, that I see as one of our shortcomings, and we certainly can expand it through this, is we don't spend a lot of time talking about anything west of 95, other than occasionally we talk about Congress. There's a lot of available commercial space in those corridors out there. And while they are retail now, the world is losing retail. Amazon's kicking its butt. So we should be prepared for those spaces to become available, and what kind of other uses might go in there, and these types of office uses we're talking about.
I think we
will
should
be
try to
perfect.
focus on what we have, though, not what we expect in the future. We
We
are
need
barely
niche- we
grasping
need-
what we have, and you're talking
Jeff,
about potential in the
which
future.
I'm
is
just
where
really
we are.
talking about
Thank
there's
you.
other opportunities out there that are available now that will be the future at some point, but
We
they're
need niche-
available now.
We need niche businesses. I mean, retail is suffering. Even office space is suffering. People work there, people are remote, people do this. But where you have an office come in that's AI generated with their people, or this, you know, financial services, something, they're all collectively in that. That is.
I
think
just
there's
really
a great
want everybody to
opportunity
talk
in
about
that.
the whole city. We have a lot of opportunity throughout the city, and we tend to focus on downtown.
I don't think we were
I
focused
don't
on
either. I
downtown
focus on-
at
I
all.
focus on
Well,
whatever
a
we
lot
do.
of discussion, we talk about the buildings that are downtown. I'm telling you, there's other opportunities. on
We're
the
asking you to
commercial-
bring us what those opportunities are.
Mr. Orris, that's the direction citywide.
Okay, we're going to get that information.
Can I just ask a quick question, Mr. Moore? 2 months seems like a long way away to me.
It's not.
It-
It's not.
I guess.
It is not.
I just was wondering, would it be helpful to have a touch base meeting midway to just see where we're at? And I mean, 2 months, to wait 60 days seems like, to me, a long
We
time.
don't really have
Okay,
meetings in March.
if I may,
We could have one.
let me tell you what we can do. What might be helpful to address your point, to be supportive of your observation. So we have one regular city commission meeting that takes place,
17th.
no, March meeting.
Like,
March 9th. The meeting Monday, March 9th, we can offer a brief update, city manager discussion items in terms of what we've been able to gather thus far with respect to the subscription service, what's been brought to our attention thus far. But in terms of putting the pieces together, I think April would be fair. So we can offer a preliminary update, Mr. Orris, with respect to what that might look like as part of the regular meeting discussion to that effect, March 9th regular meeting, Monday, March 9, 2026. And a more robust discussion via workshop meeting, I'm thinking the second meeting in April.
We already have a workshop on March 9th, so you're going to incorporate
This is n-
this into the workshop on March 9th or into the meeting?
No, ma'am, it's a brief regular meeting update, city manager discussion items, regular meeting, not the workshop. Yes, ma'am. So no workshops in March, a brief update based
There is
on
a
what we've been
workshop
able
on
to
our
assemble.
calendar. Right here, I'm looking at it,
everybody good?
on the 9th.
Consensus?
workshop.
I mean,
Oh, you mean this is not workshop?
I'm just getting, first I'm getting consensus for the things, then we're going to go to public comment.
Sure.
Yes,
Consensus,
we got
yes.
consensus?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. That agenda item is complete. We now are at a portion of the meeting which is public comment. Anyone who wishes to public comment on the items we're discussing here at the workshop agenda, please come to the lectern, give your name and address and zip code, and you will each have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Sorry, I haven't actually prepared a speech for this. I was taking notes as we were talking, but a couple of comments. And also wanted to highlight a couple of the topics that came up in the visioning workshop that we did a couple of weeks ago. One of the key pillars in the workshop was economic development, and the other supporting one, of course, was education. Now, to me, the two, I think, are inextricably linked. And you talked about the formation, perhaps, of an economic development team. It would seem appropriate, I think, to form a economic development board in collaboration with the resurgence or the recommissioning, if you like, of the education board. I think the two can be combined. I think the two go hand in glove, because you can't have one without the other, in my opinion. So I put that out there for you to consider. You spoke about space being available for development in order to attract inbound businesses. My suspicion is that businesses, the kind of businesses you want to attract, would be looking for turnkey office space. They wouldn't necessarily be looking for empty space to then build. So how do we overcome that problem? Just put that point out there for you. The reason I mention education is because I think that there is enough local talent that we can develop that can then provide employment opportunities for those kind of businesses that we're trying to attract. Again, another reason why education perhaps is so important. What else have I got here? Is there any scope for looking at partnerships with cities like Boca and West Palm Beach? Because at the end of the day, what we offer is a lifestyle city. And even if we can't necessarily attract the businesses, we can certainly attract the employers of those businesses to come and live in Delray and contribute to the economic vitality of the city that way. So perhaps there's ways that we can incentivize either through workforce housing or other housing opportunities that we can create to attract that kind of talent. I think that's probably about it for now. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Cannon. Are there any other members? Oh, yes, we have one.
Hello.
Steve English, 102 Northeast 10th Street, and I love the fact that we're having this conversation because I think it's well overdue. But some of the points, like Paul, I took down for notes that it seemed like we could reverse engineer this. We're not looking at our differentiators. We're more looking at chasing what other people are doing. I think we need to look at it and say what makes Delray distinct and is going to be an attractive selling point for any of these corporate leaders. And when thinking about a spend of money, if we are looking at advertisement, I would say Barron's has to be a designated point of any money spent, because every key decision maker, especially in the financial services space, utilizes Barron's on a weekly basis. Also highlighting, if we know the success through vertical bridges, why aren't we memorializing what went right there? I would hate to see that intellectual capital disappear, and if we let one more year lapse, that's gone. The key decision making people will probably be moved on to some other function, or the internal partners won't remember exactly how all the moving parts took place. That seems like an effective case study that we should memorialize. And then also with what goes on at the school systems, we all talk about what the school systems need around here, but the IB track, I have been so impressed by what comes out of that from the intellectual capital that is garnered by those children. I think employers would love to see that, because those are the people they want to hire, the people they can mold, who are coming in with key attributes and skills that they don't have to pay to foster, but they can mold the intellectual culture of their organization. So I think the differentiator of Delray is quite vast. We just need to get it memorialized and packaged in an appropriate fashion. So I'm excited for the work that's going to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. English. Good ideas.
Hi, Stephanie Immelman, Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce. I think we said in the last workshop that we're ready to help. So your economic development team is the city, the chamber, the CRA, the DDA, and the BDB. And we've all met together previous to this meeting, and that could be your team, and we're ready to work. And I also mentioned last time, it's a destination marketing play, and that's easy to do. We've talked to our tech firms, and it's like, just sell them on the city, and then you'll get them in the spaces. So we're ready to do it, and we're excited.
Thank you.
Sounds like we have a team.
There you go.
Are there any other members of the public? Seeing none, so public comment is closed. I am looking forward to seeing this on March 9th, because I do agree that this has been kind of off here for a while, and we really need to put it in the front burner, so to speak, to prioritize.
A brief update, March 9, 2026, Monday, followed by a more involved workshop, second meeting in April.
Good.
Thank
Thank you. Everybody good?
Yep.
It works.
We are